Hey there, Kristin Jacobsen here from bettermantoday.co, and I just want to shoot this quick video to go through the concept of state, story, and strategy and how it relates to you being able to break through in the most important areas of your life. So where I found this was a guy by the name of Tony Robbins, and Tony Robbins, he's worked with thousands and thousands of people all over many countries and worked with some of the top athletes and top business people and leaders around the world. And so for him to be able to actually have a good understanding of human mechanics and what creates a breakthrough and what creates that momentum for people is an understatement. So without further ado, I'm going to go through these three things: state, story, and strategy, and how they relate to what it is that you're trying to transform or change in your life. So when it comes to strategies, what I mean by strategy is the tactics and the process and the plan that you try and use. Now let's use as an example just getting fit or a program around fitness, okay? Whether you're trying to get more muscle or you're trying to lose weight, there is a specific program, and there's plenty of programs out there that you can choose from that help you put a plan in place to be able to actually do that, okay? And then there's also plenty of diet plans around there, plenty of access to the right strategies in order to either lose weight or gain muscle or get fit and get into a marathon. But it's not the strategies that usually hold people back or usually why people fail, because if you think about it just logically, there's tons of strategies available and they're accessible, most of them for free. Some you can pay for, but generally you can get a strategy online now. You can go search, do a Google search, find a strategy, and then go ahead and actually implement that strategy. So why do most people fail if the strategies are available? And the reason most people fail is because they have a story or a belief system, a set of belief systems that stops them from actually executing on the strategy. So I'll give you another example through the fitness area. You could have the absolute perfect diet and training program, but if you have a belief system that says, I don't have enough time to do that, or I've tried this before and I haven't lost weight, or I'm just big boned, or I'm not young enough anymore, or I've got this painful hip, or whatever it is, right? It's a story, it's a set of belief systems that's going to stop you from actually executing on the strategy. So strategy is important, don't get me wrong. Like, you use the wrong strategy, you're not going to get the result that you're after. But even if you had the right strategy in front of you and you had it in your hands, that doesn't actually guarantee you a successful outcome because of the stories and the belief systems that you have in your mind. Okay. Now, how do belief systems and stories actually get created? Because you didn't just come out of the womb thinking that you couldn't lose weight or you couldn't get fit or that you couldn't build muscle. You built that habit or that belief system over time, and the way that you built that was the state that you were in at the time that you were going through a situation. Now, I'll give an example of this real quick. September 11, 2001. Most people know exactly where they were, what they were doing on that day, because there was an emotion, a strong emotion that was attached to that actual event, which could have created a belief system or a story or whatever. So when you create an emotion strong enough to a situation, that's when a belief system or a story eventuates. So, for another example of this is going through maybe a tough breakup or going through an injury or some sort. You get into such a strong emotion, and then you link up an association to that particular event, which then means you say things such as, relationships don't work, or relationships are hard, or, whatever story you have. Okay. So how do we make sure that we manage and actually start to break up some of these belief systems that aren't serving you, that are stopping you from actually executing on a strategy or a game plan? Well, it starts by state. Now, what I mean by state is your physiological and mental state that you're in on a day-to-day basis, which will then determine the belief systems or what you see, how you see the world, which will then determine what the actual strategies you are going to follow through with. So when I say physiological state, I mean literally how do you feel energetically? Are you waking up with tons of energy? Are you waking up fresh, focused, and clear-minded? Or are you waking up, groggy, tired, with a headache, angry, and frustrated, and just you feel like you're stuck and going through the motions? So are you in that kind of mental state, or are you in a state of gratitude and in a state of focusing on what you can control over what you can't control, and focusing on what you have rather than what you don't have, and starting your day off in a state physiologically, meaning physically and mentally prepared for the day that's ahead, which will then start to create new stories and belief systems about your life, which will then determine what you're going to execute on. So real quick, the quickest way to actually start to create a change in your state on a day-to-day basis, rather than feeling angry, frustrated, overwhelmed on a constant basis, starting your day off with priming, which is in a whole nother video, but being able to prime your mind and your physical body to be able to be at your absolute best, and getting into the habit of actually creating a state whereby you've got a better chance of actually having a different outlook on life and a different viewpoint of belief systems, which will then help you follow through with whatever strategy you actually get. Okay, so with that being said, let me go through a scenario with you to see if this works for you. Now, I'm not telling you this out of be all know all and Mr. Know It All, right? I've been there myself. I've been in a state of just absolute grind, day to day, every single day felt like it was just such a push and a challenge, and I was pushing myself to do certain things, and it was a freaking struggle, man. It really was, until I started to actually change my state. And how I started doing that was, firstly, I was drinking a lot of alcohol at the time that I was going through these massive challenges. I decided for at least 30 days I was going to cut that out, because that wasn't helping my state. It wasn't helping that every single morning I'd wake up kind of almost not hungover, but not sharp, and you know what I'm talking about. If you regularly drink, you know what I'm talking about. You're just not as sharp, or not as bright, or not as energetic or full of energy as if you weren't drinking at all, okay? So I cut that out. The second thing that I started doing is I actually started moving my body in the morning. So I would go for a walk for 10 minutes. And if I couldn't go for a walk, if I was stuck somewhere or doing something, I would literally just do a few minutes of push-ups, star jumps, whatever I could to get the body moving, to actually get oxygen and blood going through the body in the morning. And then I would take 10 minutes. I'd either do some sort of meditation or some sort of mindfulness, and just take that 10 minutes to really start thinking about the things that I wanted in my life, rather than the things that I had to do and the problems that I had and all that sort of stuff. So getting that started, and that's a habit and that's a ritual, and it's not easy. There's some days where I don't do this, right? But most days, I'd say 9 times out of 10, I'm setting myself up for success in the morning by creating a state, and then focusing on, if I am not feeling good, or if I'm frustrated or angry or overwhelmed, I stop and I don't think about what it is that's actually creating that. I stop and say, okay, how do I feel in my body? What's going on? Do I have enough water? Have I drunk enough water? Am I dehydrated or not? Am I actually breathing? Because sometimes you find out that you're not actually breathing. Is my jaw and, is my face clenched? And is my body kind of, seizing up a bit, or tight? My muscles, am I holding energy in my muscles? Now, I know this might sound woo-woo, but just try it on for size next time that you get angry, frustrated, or overwhelmed. Actually, just stop for a second, grab a glass of water, sit down, breathe for a couple of minutes, and actually focus on your personal, how you're actually holding your body, right? And then see how that starts to change what the situation is. You start to have a clearer mind. You start to see through what's actually really going on, and then you can execute, rather than just flying off the chain and making decisions and taking action based on going through and being fearful. So that's what I mean by state. So the state that you're in on a day-to-day basis and a minute-to-minute basis is going to determine the belief systems and the stories that you have about life and how you actually fundamentally view life, and then which will then determine what strategies you execute on or don't execute on. So the strategies are always available to you. What's 100% in your control is the state that you're in on a day-to-day basis. Nobody else in this world has any control over how you feel or what you do within yourself, okay? That's only you. Now, someone might say something or do something that pisses you off or makes you angry or whatever, but at the end of the day, they're not the ones that are doing the chemical reaction within your body. It's actually you that's actually creating that chemical reaction that's making you angry, right? If you didn't, and now try this on for size, if you didn't know that that person or that said something or did something, if you didn't know that they did that or said that, then would you be triggered or would you get pissed off or frustrated? No, you wouldn't, because it wouldn't even register, right? But if you see it done and you see it happen, then you're most likely going to get angry or triggered or whatever it is, the thing that pisses you off. So is it the actual person doing it, or is it your experience of the person doing it? It's time to take some responsibility, guys, for how your state is, because that's the 100% thing that you can control, absolutely. So state, physical and mental state, which is in your control, then the belief systems and stories that you start to create around life, and you can change those. Even though you've had one belief system or one way of thinking or one belief about something your whole life, doesn't mean that that can change. And if you think about it, there's been times where, you know, your belief systems have changed. If you think about the last 2 years, you know, how things have changed for us mentally in the world around, you know, pandemics and that. We've changed belief systems and stories in the last 2 years, right? And that, all of that is going to determine what strategy you actually execute on. Now, this takes practice, this takes time. Now, if you want to work on this and actually go through a bit of a breakthrough session where we actually go through specifically where your state is right now, what the belief systems are, what the stories are, and actually unpackage that and actually start to unravel it and start to put things in place that's actually going to start changing that, so that you do follow through on whatever strategy, whatever game plan that you actually have, then simply just comment below this video or click around the link somewhere around here where you can do a breakthrough session with me or one of our coaches one-on-one, and we're happy to help, because really we want to help men become better men all over the world. Because once we start to step up and become better men, then the people in our lives and the things that we do and the impact that we can make is phenomenal, and that's what we're here to do. So thanks for watching, guys. Click that link wherever that is. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll see you soon.